Oh boy. Okay, so this is going to be a low, I'm going to call it low budget, low effort, because, this movie, this was a long day. Um, what happened? What absolutely happened to the Ghostbusters franchise? It feels to me they are picking at straws that don't exist. I guess for starters, I should just read off what I wrote exactly on Letterbox because that's just how I do these low effort reviews now. I just write my thoughts and then I just read it out loud because it's low effort. The movie didn't try, neither should I. I was a huge fan of Ghostbusters Afterlife. Huge. It is one of my comfort movies. It is just a love letter and a perfect send off to not only Ghostbusters, but the Ghostbusters fandom. If they just ended on Afterlife, I don't think anybody would be mad. I think that movie is just genuinely almost beautiful. A lot of people, including my friends, but we'll get into that later, found it to be repetitive, clunky, and over the top. Same people that liked this movie. My friends, who I forced to watch all of these films in one day before watching Frozen Empire, because you're not going to understand it unless you watch the other four films, except the one, you know. They found Afterlife clunky, repetitive, and they saw it as an overall cash grab. They loved this one. Ghostbusters Frozen Hour is almost a wannabe MCU movie, and somehow a live action Avatar The Last Airbender sequel. I found most of the jokes extremely flat, and for a film with 20 known actors, I'm genuinely shocked that my favorite character of the movie was an orb with little hieroglyphics on it. I more than saw the last film completely I, more than the last film, completely saw this as a cash grab. As much as I saw it as a modern Marvel movie, instead of making a sequel to a film that reintroduces our heroes as well as a villain, this film benches the characters we are most favorable of in order to reintroduce new ones for sequels, while somehow not ever showing them in the movie. There are I don't even know. Where's the poster? Where's that stupid little graphic of the poster that is on the screen? Where is it? Is it coming soon? Either way, there are so many characters in this movie. All like big actors. I just found out that Lucky in this movie was in Madam Web. They bench so many characters and somehow bring in new ones. And just there's no room for them. There's nothing for them to do. There's no arcs or anything. And I know it doesn't have to be complex. It doesn't have to be deep. Characters don't have to have arcs. Fucking look at this. Look how many people are on this poster. That's insanity. In a near 2 hour film, Bill Murray, Peter Venkman, the original Ghostbuster. Look, there he is. The original Ghostbuster that a lot of people favored in the first two films has as much screen time as Slimer, who is a joke ghost. He was a throwaway character in the original film that became extremely popular. Bill Murray has the same amount of screen time as Slimer. Someone who's not even fucking there. Someone who doesn't even speak. Which, fine. What can you do? It's fine. It's completely fine. Bill Murray doesn't really seem to care about doing these movies anymore. And it's not like him and Slimer are on one of those stupid fucking floating head posters right next to each other. Where was the sense of dread? This film follows the usual Ghostbusters formula of hours of exposition, dialogue, and world building, something to build up the threat. But as much as like the first one, where you're like, oh, Gozer's coming, and you have the people turn into dogs, and you see how this is taking over people's lives, and it's affecting the characters around us. It's affecting one character that we're introduced to in this movie who nobody really cares about because he's a joke character. A lot of these characters could have been written out to begin with, in general. The most Empire we got was a couple of cave drawings read to us by Ratatouille. I really think Jeremy Jahns said it amazing in his review, where he called this film Ghostbusters Afterthought, because that's really what this film feels to me. It feels like, hey, we have a really cool idea for a Ghostbusters movie. All right, let's hear it. It's a god, a deity that murders everything. It takes down so many people, and it freezes people to death, but not necessarily freeze them. It has the power of freezing, but it scares you to death as your body molds and crumbles and you just die. It's like, wow, that's grim. And there's like gore in this movie too. Ghostbusters has never had gore. The opening 5 minutes of this movie has gore. In a Ghostbusters movie. I kid you not, you do not see this Garaka until the last 20 minutes of the movie. I feel like that's correct. Maybe 30 or 40. But Garaka is not a threat until the last 30 minutes of the movie. Those trailer shots and even this poster you're looking at now, where the entire city of New York is in sharp, like, cascading ice, and everything's going to die, everything's going to perish. If you make one wrong move, you're dead. It's the last 30 minutes of the movie. At the end of the movie, at the end of the day, my best friend called me pretentious and was cracking fun about, oh, I need a film to be deep and philosophical for me to enjoy it. As well as how excited I was to tear this movie a new one and give it 5 out of 10 stars on Letterboxd. And, you know, that kind of messed with my head a bit. Because, like, these are people I hang out with, and usually for the past, like, 2 months, we've only watched movies together. We've watched movies and TV, and we've kind of just been experiencing new things together. I make them watch stuff they want. They've shown me Primal and Full Metal Alchemist, as well as a whole bunch of shit. For those who follow me, you guys know I have a huge movie collection. Huge. Ridiculous. It's almost obscene. And 90% of my movies are either horror, which is what it is. It can be deep or philosophical. But the rest of my collection is Scooby-Doo and Power Rangers. Or Marvel films, or Godzilla vs. Godzilla, Indiana Jones, Transformers, Harry Potter, Rocky, Creed, Spider-Man, the DCEU, the Resident Evil movie collection, Book of Life, The Walking Dead, Hunger Games. I have the Twilight collection, The Matrix. Like, I love film in general. And I don't think that makes me pretentious as someone who was studying film at one point in time. I think I'm just sick of clunky, lazy writing. I'm sick of films, in particular sequels, finding new ways to get people's asses in seats. That's all that Ghostbusters has been for the past 30 years. My friend claimed that, and I'm not dissing my friend, I love this dude to death, I'm just using his points to make, I'm making points for people to understand. I'm not saying go see this film. If you're a fan of Ghostbusters, you will like it. I didn't hate this film. This film was just incredibly lazy to me. This film, he said, this is what people remember the original Ghostbusters as. 20 years from now, they're going to look back at this film and say, oh, that was so 2020s. Which, sure, you know. But you could say the same thing about the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. 20 years from now, we're going to look at that movie. Sonic fans are going to be like, wow, this was our first live-action adaptation of Sonic. And he flosses. You know? Who knows? Maybe I'm just grumpy and pretentious. Maybe I look too hard for a film. I need everything to be dark and gritty and brooding. I need to be taught a lesson about life. I need to have thematics. Or maybe I want Hollywood to try. I don't want to see new Egon Spangler but British. I want to see McKenna Grace kick ass. I want to see Finn Wolfhard do something in this franchise. I want to see Paul Rudd do exactly what he did in the last movie. I want to see the Ghostbusters bust ghosts. I shit you not, there are a lot of moments where a main character is not allowed to bust ghosts anymore. That's the central plot. That's the theme. It's pretty much a be who you are story. And half the first hour of the movie, they're like, we can't bring you along, we gotta go bust ghosts, and then they drive off and we never see what they do. We never see any ghost busting besides the first 10 minutes of the movie up until the last 30. It's a forgettable sequel. And for some reason, it adds plot points that don't matter. There are a lot of parts in this movie that try and set up things. There's a lot of jokes revolving around one of the original people that you see on screen now, talking about death, talking about life, and talking about what it would be like for a Ghostbuster to be a ghost. And it almost made it sound like they were foreshadowing killing off one of these characters. All of which is going to add up to a sequel that no one really wants. I really think you could have ended with Ghostbusters Afterlife. I do favor that film. I don't find it deep or philosophical or overall like bombastic or huge. I think that movie's a love letter. Yes, it repeats the first movie to a T, but every time Ghostbusters has tried something different, it's failed. Every time Ghostbusters tries to be what people remember it as kids, when we think of the real Ghostbusters, when we think of Ecto Cooler, it's not. There's a reason why Ghostbusters 2 isn't favored as much as the first one. There's a reason people fucking went bonkers over the 2016 film. There's a reason people liked Afterlife, and there's a real reason why this film is so conflicting for so many people. I want to like this movie. I do. I really do. It feels like there was so much here that they cut out, or there was so much here that they didn't do anything with. I'm hopeful that they change it up in the future, but I'm also hopeful that we're done. We're not going to be. This movie also came out of nowhere. I was seeing a film in theaters, and I walked past a poster, and they posted it one day, didn't they? They just posted a frozen Ghostbuster logo, and they're like, coming soon, and we're all like, what the fuck? Like, what? Where did this come from? And then a trailer dropped, and we were all like, cool, dark, gritty, deep. This is something that Ghostbusters have never done, because the idea of life and death was so funny and so campy. And now you have literal death. Not metaphorically, not rhetorically, or poetically, or any other fancy way. This fucking final boss in this game, this Final Fantasy character, is death incarnate. That's not a spoiler, that's just how I'm presuming this character. And they're defeated by the Fire Nation. That's not a spoiler. There's no other way I could put that. Go see it. Give it your chance. Give it your shot. Don't let my opinion shatter yours. I just think it's time we lay the Ghostbusters to rest.